So you want to go camping this year, but you don't know where to start? In this video, I'm going to break down everything you need and where to go to start making memories with camping. There's lots of different types of camping. There's tent camping, there's hammock camping, cabin camping, car camping, RV camping, or even glamping. And what's a yurt all about? Well, in this video, we're going to focus on the basics and how to get you started with tent camping. When it comes to getting started, you don't need to spend a lot of money, and in fact, you probably shouldn't until you've tried it out and see what you actually like. It's okay to buy a budget tent. Just don't buy a cheap tent, and there's a difference. I've put links to a few great starter tents in the description below. One of my favorite budget tents for beginners is the Teton Quick Tent. It sleeps 2 people comfortably, and it's crazy simple to set up. Having a tent that's easy to set up makes it so much more fun, and it just makes it easier to get started with camping by taking some of the frustration away right off the bat. One thing I suggest is not going cheap on your sleep system. That's your sleeping bag and your sleeping pad underneath you. If you get one of those cheap like folding foam pads from Walmart, you may have a really uncomfortable experience. Don't cheap out on your sleep system. I put some great options for sleeping bags and sleeping pads in the description below as well if you want to check that out. One of my favorite setups for car camping, where weight and size isn't really an issue, is this Teton sleeping bag. If you're planning on backpacking, a great budget option is the Kilos sleeping pad and an Outdoor Vitals Stormloft down sleeping bag. You're gonna spend a little bit more money on this sleeping bag, but I'm telling you it's worth it because it's a real down sleeping bag and it is absolutely phenomenal. It's gonna keep you comfortable and safe and warm and all of those things, and it doesn't really cost a whole lot more. You don't want to skimp on your sleep system. Once you have your big 3 sorted out, your tent, your sleeping bag, and your sleeping pad, next you'll want to pick out some essential items like layers of clothing, including extra socks in case yours gets sweaty or wet or otherwise. You'll want like a Nalgene bottle, something that's like a good outdoor water bottle that's gonna hold up under, being dropped and stuff like that. A good pillow, a camp pillow, a headlamp, a small first aid kit with some Tylenol, some Band-Aids, stuff like that. Your toiletries kit. Everybody's got to go to the bathroom, especially in the woods. It's really important to have a toiletries kit. Wipes or hand towel or hand sanitizer so you can clean up your hands before you eat. A sit pad or a camp chair, something to sit on so you're comfortable at camp. And lastly, some food and some cooking gear. If you plan on eating warm food, you'll need a means to cook it on. For backpacking, this can be as simple as a small isobutane propane stove and a pot like this. If you're car camping, you can pack something larger and heavier to cook over, like this stove and cook set from Fire Maple. These are both really great options to get you started, and they're simple to use. When it comes to bringing food, think super simple. Don't try to make fancy meals right away. You might want to start with like oatmeal instead of pancakes. I put some links below to some great cooking gear if you want to check that out as well. It's always a good idea to add some extra items to your car, in case you might need them in the middle of the night. Something like a couple of blankets, some extra water, stuff like that. Once you have your gear, it's time to find a fun place to go camping. There are a lot of ways to find a great campsite, and here are some of the ones that I like most. The National Park Service. You can find awesome campgrounds inside of national parks where you can go camping. You can get permits to go backcountry camping, backcountry backpacking. Definitely check out some national campgrounds. And also check out your state's Department of Natural Resources. They'll actually let you browse campgrounds available right online, and you can pick them out and reserve them right online, and they're usually pretty inexpensive. You can also check out KOA campgrounds. They have some wonderful campgrounds with some great amenities, and apps like HipCamp or The Dirt. I've had a lot of great success with finding privately owned and operated small campsites that feature great amenities and low-cost booking. You should definitely consider getting a site where you can park your car so that you have a backup where you can sleep in your vehicle if you need to or want to. Some sites offer electric hookups, so you can actually plug something in. This may be a good idea if you want to bring some outdoor lights or if you want to charge your devices while you're there. So definitely be aware that there are electric sites and non-electric sites at some of these campgrounds. When picking out your campsite, try to be aware of what is around you on the map. You may want to be close-ish to the pit toilets, but perhaps not right next to them, if you know what I mean. The same goes for water sources and even dense wooded areas that may have a lot of mosquitoes during the summer months. These are all things to consider when picking out a site online, when it's sort of tough to see exactly what you're getting yourself into. Read the reviews and look over the pictures. There could be a lot of helpful stuff in there, and you can see a site during different times of the year. Maybe when you're going to be going in the fall, you can see that there's going to be some really beautiful fall colors at a particular campsite. You may want to choose that one. Check the weather forecast for where you're going to be going, and be sure to pack clothing for plus or minus 10 degrees of the forecast for the area that you're going to. If it's your first time camping, avoid camping in the rain. It's going to make the experience way more challenging and maybe not something that you want to do on your first time out. Before you go camping, test out your gear at home first. Set up your tent in your yard and try cooking with your cooking gear ahead of time. This is such an important step to ensure that you have a good time and you're not going to be frustrated with your tent or a burned meal or something like that. So you have your gear, you've booked a campsite, now you just need to go. Make sure you arrive at your campsite with enough time to set up your camp before it gets dark. You'll want to find a flat area to set up your tent, one that's free of sticks and rocks that could puncture the bottom of your tent, and it would also just make sleep really uncomfortable. So be sure to check that out and clear everything out of the way before you set up your tent. Also, make sure that you check above your sleeping area for dead branches or limbs that may be hazardous during a wind. Once you have your tent pitched and you've made a meal, you might be ready to sleep for the night. Here are a few tips that will help you sleep well in a tent. Use a pump or a pump sack to inflate your sleeping pad if at all possible to avoid mold growth. You definitely don't want to have that in your lungs the next time you inflate your sleeping pad. Keep your gear away from the sides of the tent, because if it's touching the tent and you have a rain, that could actually come inside of your tent and flood the bottom of your tent. Try not to breathe in your sleeping bag if it's cold. Use a neck gaiter instead and pull it up over your face. That's going to keep the condensation from getting into your sleeping bag and actually chilling you even more. Bring your water bottle and personal items into your tent, but don't bring your food. Seal up your food, hang it up, stow it away in your car, and if you're in bear country, be sure to follow the instructions from the camp on how to properly store your food, because it varies in location to location. Use the tent's vestibule to store your shoes and cover them with a plastic bag if you don't want bugs in them or moisture from the dew. When you inflate your sleeping pad, don't inflate it all the way. Sit up on your elbow and your hip, and if your hip touches the ground, then it's probably inflated well. You don't want to inflate it all the way because that could actually be more uncomfortable. Always keep your tent door closed to keep out the bugs. You don't want mosquitoes, spiders, or otherwise inside your tent with you at night. If your tent has vents, use them even if it's colder outside. It will prevent buildup of condensation inside the tent at night from your breathing. Don't be afraid to bail on camping and head to the car if you need to or want to. It's all about having fun and having a great time and being safe. So if you need to do that to feel safe and have fun, then go right ahead. There's no shame in doing it. That was a whole bunch of facts, rapid fire right at you, but I hope you feel empowered to start making memories with camping starting this year. Don't wait any longer to start. Remember to start small and keep it simple. I put links to all the gear we talked about today in the description below, and I hope you found this useful, or at least entertaining. We'll see you later.